Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Evangel. I'm a chiropractic physician. I've been practicing for 34 years. I'm also the host of the Super Mike Show. I'm the host, but this is your show. Why? Because the show is a survival guide to life. Why would you need a survival guide? Well, there's so much misinformation out there now, all over the place. People get confused because one expert says one thing, another expert says something else. For example, does coffee cause cancer or does it prevent cancer? Well, in 1996, the World Health Organization said it's probable carcinogen. In 2016, they said it probably prevents cancer. You can see how people get confused. We'll cover topics pertaining to health, fitness, nutrition, longevity, the environment, and personal safety, and more. We'll cut through the confusion and bring the truth to you. When you have that truth, you can then take it and share it with others, and then you will be their holistic hero. With that in mind, let's take a look at today's topic, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. It's amazing that in the 1950s, they didn't even know what DNA was. Many people during the O.J. Simpson trial was exposed to the first knowledge of DNA. 4 base pairs, the alphabet of life. There's a lot of companies out there doing DNA testing. 23andMe and Ancestry.com are 2 of the most common. But now there's another one on the horizon, Athletic Genetix with an X at the end. Rafael Loretta is the founder and CEO of the company. We're going to meet him right after the break. Rafael, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Doc. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Let me ask you something. When you were growing up, what was your life like?
That's a great question. So when I was 3 years old, I just had a passion for soccer, and I just grew up playing it every single day. So it got me to every single level, and including pro. Played in Italy for a little bit, played in pro in the States, and got me to go to a bunch of different places never thought I would go to, and shake hands with a lot of different people never thought I could shake hands with. So it's been great.
Now what you did is you went to pre-med, and then also your passion with sports, especially soccer, led you to the point where you merged those 2 different loves into your company, Athletic Genetix. Was there an aha moment or something happened along the way that caused you to really make that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a blessing ever since I got into medicine. So you're right. So I was pre-med when I went to college, and then I started getting to the business side of medicine, working with doctors, working with laboratories. And it was pretty cool because it got me into seeing the background, the behind-the-scenes look of medicine. And one day I just said, Raf, we got to somehow find a way to connect my 2 passions, my 2 loves in this world, which are sports and science. So when I came up with that idea, I said, okay, Athletic Genetix. And that's how it came out to be.
And how long ago was that?
So I first put pen to napkin, I want to say about 3 years ago, and then incorporated the company 2 years ago, and it's been a blessing ever since.
Have you run into a lot of successes or difficulties, obstacles? Tell us a little bit about the path the last few years.
Sure. If we did not run into obstacles, we wouldn't be living life, right? So it's always about having issues and somehow getting around them and solving them for the better, so you can make more positive changes going forward. So we ran into some issues, basically seeing what the person needs to focus on, whether it is for athletic performance or whether it's for weight loss. And we really came up with a set panel of genes that we test for that every person, no matter what they're trying to do, trying to be healthier, trying to be stronger, would need to focus on.
Well, genetic testing is amazing, and it's really moving forward in leaps and bounds in recent years. So who knows what the future is going to bring with your company. We'll talk about that a little later on. But how do you go about deciding which tests to include in your panel?
Sure. So when we're talking about 23andMe and Ancestry.com, they are great at what they do. So if you want to learn about family linkage, if you want to learn about maybe diseases or illnesses, they are the best at what they do. If you want to learn about more information on your body as far as sports goes or health, that's what Athletic Genetix does the best. So when we came up with this, we said vitamins and minerals have to be part of our panel because everyone wants to know, are they absorbing these vitamins properly? Are they converting it to the active form so they can actually use it for energy, for fuel? So we got into all vitamins A through E and minerals as well.
That's interesting, but there's a lot more to it than just that.
Absolutely. So after vitamins and after minerals, we get into calcium, magnesium, and phosphate, and also iron as well. We can get into the breakdown of carbs, protein, and fats, including fibers. So we can actually see whether you have a genetic predisposition to seeing how you metabolize carbs and if you have more of a risk of gaining weight because you're having carbs. Then we could take it another step further and see about caffeine, which is probably one of my favorite ones on the panel. So we could actually see with caffeine metabolism how you metabolize it, whether it's fast or slow. So a really good friend of mine also played soccer in Italy. He's a fast metabolizer of caffeine, meaning that he could take a couple caffeine shots before he plays. It'll give him that extra boost, that extra jolt before playing. Me, if I were to take it, I'm a slow metabolizer. It would actually do nothing for me. In fact, it might even be detrimental for me because it'll just dehydrate me at the end of the day. And I won't feel the effects until hours later.
We hear about some people that they can't have a cup of coffee after lunchtime or else it keeps them up at night. So know exactly what you're talking about, but at least they now can find out the reason why.
Absolutely. I have a couple of friends that took the test and they said exactly that. They said, I can't have coffee after 1 o'clock because then I'll be up all night. I won't be able to sleep. And that's because they're a slow metabolizer of caffeine. Take
a break right now, and after the break, we'll come back and we'll be talking actually a little bit about my test because you tested me to find out what makes me tick.
Absolutely.
We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. And we're back with Rafael Loretta from Athletic Genetix. Before the break, we talked a little bit about some of the tests. For example, vitamins A through E, the minerals iron, calcium, phosphate, and magnesium. We want to talk a little bit about the sensitivities to gluten and lactose.
Sure, absolutely. So whether you are an athlete or someone looking to get healthier and stronger, maybe fitter, even maybe lose weight, these sensitivities are going to be huge for you to know about. So we get into gluten and lactose. So we could actually see if you love your breads, love your pastas, if you have a sensitivity towards gluten, it's going to not help your body recover as fast as you'd like, or maybe help you gain more weight than you'd really like. And same thing goes with lactose. So we could actually see if you're intolerant to drinking milk, cheese, yogurts, things like that. So again, if you're an athlete, it's going to cause your body to recover a lot slower than the average person, which is obviously no good. And it might even help you gain more weight, which again is not good for someone that wants to shed a few pounds.
And then we have the macronutrients, which are proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and also fiber.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could actually see how you metabolize carbs, protein, fats, and fiber. We could see if you need to increase your intake in it. We could also see if there's maybe a risk of obesity. So if someone says, I really want to help, I want to help myself lose a few pounds, now we're going to take a look at how you break down carbs, how you break down protein, especially saturated fats, and see where we can pinpoint it and say, okay, this is what we need to incorporate into your diet. These are the foods that we probably need to limit or avoid in your intake.
Well, working with athletes a lot, the two that really fascinated me were exercise recovery and injury repair.
Those are great ones that every soccer club team in the world wants to know, and we're also talking to the NFL, NBA, and MLB about because they're already spending millions and millions of dollars on their athletes. They want to know even more data on their players so they can make more positive changes for them. So we can get into flexibility. We could see how fast or how slow their muscles recover after exercise. We could also see prone to getting injured, and we could also see how fast their muscles fatigue after they start working out.
How about a little bit about sleep?
Sure. So we can actually see if you have a sleep insomnia risk, which is basically, is it harder for you to go to bed at night, harder for you to wake up in the morning? And that can obviously tell us a big picture, because we feel that in order to get stronger, you need to focus on nutrition, hydration, exercise, and sleep. So it's definitely a fourfold in order to increase your performance.
Now, this is a really big one out there today, concussion risk.
Yeah, absolutely, Doc. So we've been talking to the NFLPA about this only because they have a huge spotlight hanging over them when talking about concussion. We could actually see whether if you happen to get a concussion, you might feel more severe symptoms and might have a longer road to recovery, or no, you're on the normal side. And there's nothing that we can see right now but this Athletic Genetix test that can get into concussion risk.
Now I have to excuse myself because I actually have to read these, because from the test that you did on me,
Sure.
we found it to be quite interesting, because having my background in martial arts, it basically said I should be good at martial arts, but I already knew that. But the things that were really significant: regulation of energy intake, anaerobic capacity, explosive power, the utilization of vitamin D, which is different from your vitamin D level, because you told me only 10% of the population has this gene to be able to utilize vitamin D. What's so important about that is vitamin D is so essential to fight cancer, for the immune system, for depression. And one thing from, actually I had emailed you that blog I did on the NFL Combine. They tested a few years back all the vitamin D levels for the NFL Combine participants, and they found that the participants with the lowest level of vitamin D had the most injuries when they're in college. And that's something I learned when I read that research, because that's fascinating.
Yes, so we're definitely doing some research with vitamin D and athletes, just because there's a huge link between vitamin D and muscle recovery and injuries.
And that's very important, because that's about the cheapest thing you can do, is increase your vitamin D levels, because that's very inexpensive. But one thing that I know from my practice, because I do a lot of nutrition, is vitamin K2 is essential to have along with D, so that the calcium goes into the bones and the teeth where they belong, and not into the soft tissues and the arteries where the calcium does not belong. Other things that you said I excelled in: hydration, the ability to utilize sleep, which I know I need a lot less sleep than the average person, caffeine metabolism. Caffeine never bothers me before going to sleep. Carbohydrate metabolism, the utilization of unsaturated fat, and injury repair. So that pretty much, I think we discussed this. I was genetically designed to maybe beat people up.
You were designed to be the Hulk. So going back to vitamin D, it's a little bit different than blood, because we can actually see how you metabolize vitamin D and how you absorb it in your body. So it's not like getting a regular blood test where every single day you're not going to the doctor and getting that blood test. Now we can actually get an overall bigger picture, kind of like a bird's eye view of how you absorb vitamin D in your body. So if you are more inclined to being deficient in vitamin D, we can see that not only today, tomorrow, but next week, next month, next year. So it's a one-time test where we can see which foods you need to incorporate into your diet more, because you're predisposed to being deficient in those vitamins.
Which, to make it clear, is totally different than the level of vitamin D in your blood, but it's the ability to utilize it. Just for example, insulin gets glucose over the cell membrane. So diabetics have high levels of glucose because the insulin's not there to do the job bringing it over the cell membrane into the cell to utilize it. So it's a very similar type of situation.
Absolutely. So vitamin D for blood is today, genetics is today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. So it's the bigger picture.
Clear. All right, we'd like to take a commercial break now, and we'll do a few more exciting things with Raphael when we get back from the break. See you in a minute. And we're back. Raphael, could you please explain exactly what happens when you work with your nutritionists and you have them consult with the athletes as far as what they recommend with nutrition and supplements to increase their athletic performance?
Sure, absolutely. So after taking the test, that's when we can pinpoint their strengths and their weaknesses. So if we're going to pinpoint some weaknesses, we want to know which ones they are, understand them, and then make them stronger. Just like deficiencies in vitamins, we're going to strengthen those deficiencies so they don't feel as tired, they're able to run a lot more. And then when we look at their strengths, we're able to pinpoint those and then build on those to make them stronger. Because again, we believe that athletic performance is a fourfold. You need nutrition, hydration, exercise, and sleep in order to meet all of your fitness goals.
And one thing I thought was absolutely fascinating, besides doing all this with established athletes. You can take a young individual before they're really involved with sports and genetically test them to see where they have a possible genetic predisposition to be good at. And this is something that I've discussed with a lot of parents, and every single parent said that's a great idea, because what would have happened if Michael Jordan never picked up a basketball or Wayne Gretzky never put on a pair of skates?
Right, absolutely. So this is just my take on it. I think that I truly believe that passion has a huge part to play in this. It's a huge factor that we cannot test for genetically. It's either you have it or you don't. How did I know to pick up a soccer ball when I was 3 years old? No one ever gave me a football. No one gave me a basketball, a tennis. Do I love those sports? Yeah. But is it my passion? No. So we can't test for it.
You cannot test for that.
And I think that in order to make that that assumption, we would need to put passion into it. So we'll never tell anyone what sport they have to play, what sport they should be playing. But based off of our results, we could see whether they have more of a athletic advantage in power or endurance. So we could see whether they should be doing the 100-meter sprint or they should be doing the 3 to 4 mile run. Now, just in case it shows they have more of a power advantage than endurance, doesn't mean that they can't run the cross country, they can't do the New York City Marathon, but it just shows that they might have to work on it a little bit more, train a little bit harder in that sport where the 100-meter sprint might come naturally to them. God-given talent.
But as we know, people tend to like things they're good at. It's human nature. So unless the masochists out there, because they just torture themselves, like playing golf, for example, some people that are shooting in the 140s for a round of golf.
Which is not me.
That's not you. It's not me either, because I don't play golf. I'm one of the few doctors that really do not enjoy golf. But I do a lot of other things. The future. What do you see in the future for your company as far as additional tests or where you want to take it?
It's a great question. So I believe that the industry is expanding and growing tremendously every single day. And I feel that this is just on the forefront right now. We believe that youth athletes are really going to benefit from this by learning more about their body at a much younger age. So now they can make more positive changes growing up, whether it is for their health off the field or for better performance on the field. So we believe in that, and especially I just found out a startling stat where 40% of children are obese. And that is something that we can definitely greatly decrease that number in order to help every kid have the right to feel healthier. So everything from athletic performance to weight loss is what Athletic Genetix can do.
Well, it's interesting you bring that point up, because the average woman now weighs what the average man did in the early 1960s, which is 163 pounds approximately. Okay. Now, if people want to get tested, how would they go about doing that?
Sure. So the website is athleticgenetix.com. It's Athletic Genetix, where it's GENETIX.com. And from there, you'll be able to order a kit. We could ship it out to you 2 to 3 days later, and we'd be super excited to help you.
And just so that they know, how long would it take? Because people want to get the results back. How long does it usually take the turnover?
Yeah. So once the lab receives it, it's only a 2-week turnaround time. And then from there, you'll get your results. You'll also have a customized nutrition plan and a customized exercise plan based off of you and off of your fitness goals.
Anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap it up?
Guys, Doc has been a great friend of mine, and I really appreciate everything you've been doing for me, for the company, and I'd love to help as many people as possible, just like you've been doing even before we met.
Well, it's part of the goal that we both have, is to try to help humanity and also help our planet.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show,
Thank
Raphael.
you so much, Doc. My pleasure.
Okay, and remember, there is only one truth. Each and every episode will continue to do our best to bring that truth to you, with the hope that you and your loved ones can live healthier, safer, and more fulfilling lives. I'm Dr. Mike, and thanks for watching our show. Until next time,